Hey Dolphins! So excited for this upcoming year and for Tua. I can't wait to see what we do this year. I'm really looking forward to the season, and I think he's going to start week one. I don't really have a favorite joke. I guess my mom's favorite joke is, what do you call a cow with no legs? Ground beef. That joke's for Brian.
By the Fin Addicts, Jimmy Kearns and Brian Byrne on the Fin Addicts Network.
Hey Dolphins fans, this is Mike Gesicki. Catch Jimmy Kearns and Brian Byrne's new podcast, The Fin Addicts and The Sure Thing. You can find them on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. And make sure to subscribe to the Fin Addicts Network on YouTube as well. Fins up.
What is going on? Welcome into the Fin Addicts podcast on the Fin Addicts Network. As always, I am your host, Jimmy Kearns. Before we hop into anything, again, let me give you the YouTube channel, Fin Addicts Network. Please go and subscribe. The Twitter handle, Fin_Addicts. Follow it if you haven't already. If you haven't already, I got a question what you're doing. Check us out on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you get podcasts. It is probably on there. Also, some big news. Got a hotline now, the Fin Addicts hotline. I got a phone number for you that you can text or call. Please be advised that any messages left can and will be used against you on our podcast. That number for you, 786-309-7559. Again, 786-309-7558. That's how they do it, right? They always do the again and read a phone number again. Mm-hmm. Before we get into anything else again, also, we got a big announcement here. Our boy Savak, got to welcome him to the Fin Addicts team. A huge pickup. This is bigger than Brady to the Bucks, Newton to the Pats. This is huge. This is DeAndre Hopkins to the Cardinals type stuff we're working on here. One of the greats at Seriously Savak on Twitter, host of Seriously Sports Podcast. This dude's a comedian, YouTuber, musician. This dude does it all. Savak, what is going on, man? Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. It is an honor to join such an illustrious team. I mean, look at you guys.
Squad up, squad goals, bro.
Hell yes, sir.
I hope I didn't put too much pressure on you claiming how big of a pickup you are, but I can't, it's not hyperbole. You're a stud, kid. Love having you already.
Appreciate it.
What's the over-under on new subscribers now that Savak is on it?
At least 3.5. At least. Give me the over.
Guaranteed at least 3 subscribers.
That mustachioed handsome gentleman that hopped in with us is Brian. As always, Brian, how you doing, brother?
Jimmy, I'm doing great. I'm really psyched to be back on another episode of the Fin Addicts on the Fin Addicts Network. I always have to remind everybody, we have a fantasy football league. We have enough 12-person leagues to support everyone. It was actually idea started with our guest tonight because we filled up one league and then we cut out like 24 people and I felt really bad. So we're doing huge network of leagues. The grand champion is going to get a really cool Fin Addicts trophy, and they will also get 2 tickets to the MetLife Takeover in New York, Dolphins-Jets game. It is an unbelievable time. It's only a $50 entry fee. Every league has its payout of $400, $150, and $50. So definitely a can't miss. And then, like I said about our guest, we have a really special guest. So when I was first kind of batting around the idea of Fin Addicts as a name of the show, my idea was, like we'd sit here and we talk Dolphins football and we could bring on other Fin Addicts who are just insane Miami Dolphins fans like Jimmy, Savak, and myself are. And literally the guy that came to mind as our guest tonight, Ian Berger, Big E on Twitter, is, lifelong Dolphins fan. I literally talk to him all the time, and I think this is the first time we've actually spoken, but he's just involved in everything Miami Dolphins and a huge fan. So, Ian, welcome to the show. How are you doing tonight? What do you currently working on?
Well, thanks, guys. First of all, thank you so much for the invite. I love being able to talk about the Dolphins, but I love what you guys have started with the Fin Addicts Network. And I know you guys have picked up a lot of followers recently, and, you got Savak now as a team member. So really excited to join. So I appreciate you guys inviting me on. What do I have going on? I think the big thing right now is a month and a half in to the 2-minute drill for the Miami Dolphins. That has become pretty successful. I think people like that 2-minute news clips about specifically about the Miami Dolphins. What's going to be coming up, I'm going to start writing a little bit more too, because that's what I started with originally, was doing writing, and then I started podcasting. And then as the season gets closer, I'm actually going to have my own segment on the DolphinsTalk.com main podcast for about 10 or 15 minutes a couple times a week. So something to look forward to. It gives me an opportunity to give my opinion. I never consider myself an expert. I'm just, as I like to say, I'm a fan with a keyboard. So now I'm a fan with a microphone. It works out too.
So I like that take on things. Too many people nowadays consider themselves experts in everything. So I like that take. I'm not an expert in this either. I just like talking about it, Man, I love how I could listen to Ian talk all day. That mic is giving off that radio sound. And yeah, I like it a lot. So something we do with the guests, Ian, we like to just know, how and when, how long you became a Dolphins fan. How did it happen, man?
It happened in 1985. I remember the year. My grandfather took me to my first ever Dolphins game at the Orange Bowl. I remember us in the park and ride. I remember us, the vision of Orange Bowl, driving into the Orange Bowl. And at the time, I'm kind of aging myself. I was about 11 years old at the time. And I remember going to the game and having a great time. My grandfather brought his binoculars, which he always did to the football games. And I just got hooked, because it wasn't something that was in my family. My parents weren't really big into football or into the Dolphins. So I ended up becoming a huge fan. It took me a little while to actually start going to games, but I took my father to his first ever Dolphins game in '92 and got him hooked.
Wow.
because if you remember in 1992, that was around the Brian Cox era.
Yep.
And the huge Dolphins versus Bills rivalry. So we kind of made it a habit of making sure that we were going to every Dolphins-Bills home game, and I would pay for it because I had enough. I was working at McDonald's, made enough money to be able to do that type of stuff. And then my fandom kind of grew until I was able to afford some season tickets and had a family. And I don't know if they love it as much as I do. I think more or less they probably tolerate what my fandom, but they know it makes me happy. And actually that's what my wife always says. She says, if it makes you happy, then I'm happy. And she's a great wife. I'm gonna give her a little plug here, right?
Hey, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's a sign of a good partner right there. Yeah, they don't have to dig head over heels what you're into, but as long as they it makes you happy, so it should make them happy. And a wise woman once said, if it makes you happy, it can't be that bad. I don't know how that's historical.
That was Sheryl Crow, wasn't it? Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was George Washington's wife, but what's her name? Beatrice Washington, I believe. But so you said you're a season ticket holder. How long have you been? How long you had season tickets down there?
So I figured it out the other day. I've actually had season tickets probably 17 or 18 years. But what happened was, for the first 10 years, I couldn't afford tickets for the entire season. So I would buy the tickets from one of my coworkers who upgraded to club. And then I would sell about half the season, maybe 3/4 of the season. So basically I was going to the games for free, because back in the 90s, in late 90s, 2000s, you could sell the tickets for a little extra money, and that would basically counter for us to be able to go to those games. But then 8 years ago, the first year of Tannehill, the year after we went to the playoffs with Chad Pennington, I decided to buy my own tickets as a family. So we've got 2 tickets. I have a family of 4, and we rotate who goes at what time. For a while, it was my oldest daughter. For the last couple of seasons, it's been my youngest daughter, and we just go there to have a good time. It's not really about the wins or the losses, even though I prefer the wins. It's just about making sure that everybody has a good time.
No, it's a great experience. You can't beat it live, and bringing the family along. They get some junk food, the kids, you get to enjoy some football. It's a great thing, especially if you're passing it on to kids. I love it, man. What, you guys got anything for Ian? Any follow-ups to that or what?
I'm talking about season tickets for next year, and I was talking to my wife about it, and she was like all on board, and she's like, yeah, we go to Miami, I'll get to go to South Beach. And I was like, cool, I'm really glad you're into it. I'll get 2 season tickets. She's like, oh, no, I don't need to go to the game. I just want to go down to Miami.
She's like, no, I just want to go to Miami.
I only need one season ticket.
That's funny. I'd be torn on that. Like, I want you can't be overexcited for that. If you show too mixed, be like, oh, wow, yeah, that's great. I can go to the game by myself. You go shop. If you show too much excitement there, that could get you in the doghouse.
Exactly. Takes a light touch. Very light.
Oh, yeah. You got to finesse that one for
go.
sure.
It's like,
all right.
you don't want to go to the game? Dang.
One question, Ian. You said your daughters go with you to the games. Does your wife ever want to have a game, or just the daughters?
I think she goes to at least one game per season, my wife, and part of that is because I think she feels like she has to go to at least one game because she feels like she's part of that. But in some cases, because it's so late at night, like if we have a Sunday night game or a Monday night game, she'll want to go because I can't bring my daughters and expect them to go to school if it's a Sunday night or Monday night game. So that's usually it. And every once in a while she'll say, I don't want to go to this late game. Invite one of your friends. Like preseason games too are a little bit challenging for the family. So I'll just call up one of my friends and say, hey, you want to come? And we go.
Nice. Well, you're a good friend, man. If you need anyone new friends, let me know. I can I'll catch a flight.
I got a bunch of them on Twitter now. There's a lot of them, a lot of friends on there.
Yeah, they come out of the woodwork on Twitter.
I have a special kinship with Ian because I always want to. So Ian did a thing with when COVID broke out with washing your hands to the Miami Dolphins fight song, and I wanted to put that on videotape, but I was scared to ask my wife to do it, but he did it first, and he had his family do washing their hands to that, and then ESPN and NFL Network wanted your videos for their draft, and I was scared to have my wife do it, but then I saw that his wife was doing it, so I was like, "Come on, honey, his wife is." So I was always that scapegoat.
So you
like
use
Ian's
me
wife
first,
today.
so I understand that now. As long as I do it first, I'll see you doing it second. Is that
exactly?
That's okay.
Always happen like that.
I realized a long time ago I'm gonna end up making myself look like a fool, but you know what? I'm having fun while I'm doing it, so I really don't care what people think, and that's kind of the way I go with it. And that was the whole thing too with the whole ESPN. I read the thing and it said send a video with these things, and I'm like, what? I'm going to look like a fool. I'm big, and they want to ask questions. They want me to respond to things. And I was like, all right, we'll try it. And sure enough, they had it on one of the draft nights. I actually got a couple tweets from people.
Awesome.
Although I was watching ESPN at the time, they were watching ABC and it came on ABC, but it was cool to be on like that national audience. It was really neat.
That's awesome. That's weird. Not that this is a big topic to get into. That's weird. They had different broadcasts on ABC and ESPN.
Yeah. For the draft night, it was
I
totally
didn't know
different
that.
broadcasts.
Oh, I was watching ESPN. Yeah, I figured it'd be the same thing.
Yeah, but ABC had a much more family orientated and more of those videos of the family videos going.
The real uplifting stories that they kept using. Yeah,
yes.
Very family oriented. All right, hey, so Ian, thanks for joining us, man. It's great to get some background on you, man. Good stuff.
Thank you. No, thanks. I appreciate it.
Before we hop into some topics here, our boy Savak has brought us, he did it the wrong way, I guess. He brought us a welcome gift. Savak, what do you got going on here? You got a video to debut here with us?
Indeed, I do. So, of course, recently I put out a poll on Twitter asking, a poll and then a video talking about a topic that's very near and dear to all of our hearts. I know it to be true, but I could tell you all about it, or I could just let Brian let me tell you all about it. Brian,
right.
would you be a lamb?
Absolutely. Yeah, here we go. Our first screen share. Oh, flawless.
Dolphins jump. Nobody really knows why, but experts theorize that maybe they do it to help them navigate by allowing them to keep an eye on the shoreline. Maybe it's to spot potential food sources nearby. Maybe it's to keep track of the other members of their pod. Some have even guessed that maybe they just do it because it's fun. Whatever the reason is, one thing is for certain. It is the definitive dolphin move. It is so undeniably iconic that it's almost impossible not to identify a creature doing it as a dolphin. So back in 2013, Miami Dolphins brass decided it was time to shake things up. They wanted to rebrand the franchise with a new logo that would represent the changing tides within the organization after a decade of mediocrity. The goal? To instill hope by creating a new logo that symbolized the franchise's ascension back to the upper echelon of the NFL. And standing here in 2020, we can proudly say that although the transition isn't complete, the mission was accomplished. Hope was instilled. But now it's time to turn back to the future. My issue with the current logo is that to me, it feels like perpetual potential energy that never becomes kinetic. A charge that builds and builds and builds and never goes anywhere. I'm not saying revert back to the cartoon logo, I know some people can't stand that one. Keep the current design, just change its shape. The original goal was accomplished, and it's time. The foundation has been laid and the future is upon us now. We're tired of swimming for the surface. We're ready to leap from the water once again. Paid for by the committee to change the logo to something cooler. Got a problem? Step to me, bitch. You ain't ready for this. I'll beat that ass worse than the Miami Dolphins will be beating the rest of the AFC East for the next 10 to 20 years.
The views expressed in this video do not necessarily represent the views held by anyone else under the Fin Addicts Network or FinManiacs.com. All rights reserved.
Oh man,
That disclosure was amazing.
That so when I first saw it, when Savak sent it to us, I was like, bro, like at first I thought this was like gonna be just a serious thing, like the tone of it, and then I progressively started laughing, and then that thing at the end, what I forgot what you just called it, I'm blanking on it, but I just lost it. I died. That is hilarious, man. I love that video. That is great. So, I mean, obviously, let's touch on it real quick of what we think of the logo. First off, great job, Savak. Is there anything you want to add about it? Anything you want to say? I should give you the floor. It's your video, kid.
No, I think I hit all the points in that video. It's, that's just, I don't even know how else to break it down. It actually took me a long time to get that fully, to get it all articulated.
Yeah.
And it's, of course, it's always a challenge trying to fit it into 2 minutes, but.
Yeah, well, 2-minute videos is the way to get across to the majority of the people in the world nowadays with the attention spans that we all have. So, yeah, you did a great.
30 seconds.
I can't even do 2-minute videos. I know. Who am I kidding?
Ian had a funny story about it when he first started watching it.
I thought it was actually like a National Geographic video. I stopped watching it after about 15 seconds. And then Brian's like, did you see the video that Savak put out? And I was like, yeah, I didn't watch the whole thing because he's like, it's about the logo. I'm like, I had no idea. So I watched it again. But I'll my opinion is, first of all, great video, Savak. Once I watched it, I like how you put everything together and how I love the disclosure at the end. I was actually laughing out loud, I like the new logo, and for me, it represents change, and I think what a lot of people do is they associate certain logos with certain time frames in the franchise history. And I think when you especially the older individuals that were around for the 1972 perfect season, I think they prefer that logo because they just associate that with greatness, right? And for those individuals that were around in the 80s, they love that logo because they associate with Dan Marino. I think if we were to have a winning streak over the next couple of seasons, I think everybody's going to love this logo. If there's some way, and I will continue to pray for this, if there's some way that the Dolphins can get to the Super Bowl and they can win that Super Bowl, this logo is going to be bought by every single person. You will not hear very many people complain about it. That's my opinion on it.
Absolutely. It'll be our logo, the one that we associate with greatness and looking back on. So as always, I got to play fence sitting Jimmy. I like the new logo. I like the older colors better though. And I do like the older logo. And what Savak said in the video, I can't do it verbatim because there was too many big words and I'm not a doctor or a scientist. But the thing about kinetic energy and just building to nothing, though, is what the new logo seems like. Like it's getting there and we're on our way, but it kind of stalled out so much that maybe there could be a fresh start. I liked that take a lot on it, and that spoke to me. But I could go either way. I like the older colors. Like Brian's hat that he's wearing right now is the old school logo, and the color. I like that old school teal, aqua, and orange. I like it a lot. Brian, what do you got, bro?
I have a lot of thoughts on it. First of all, I think the disclaimer is that I do want them to switch back to the old logo, but I think everyone should know as we build that energy, that can't happen until after the 2022 season. We changed our logo in 2018. It was small, but it did count as a uniform change. So we can't do it till after the 2022 season. And expect them to do that because what's happening in today's NFL is they have that rule that you can't majorly change over your uniforms for every 5 years. But every team takes advantage of that, as we saw this past offseason, like with 5 new teams, logo, like they all made like slight changes, but they all counted as uniform changes. because it's a huge revenue stream to make everybody buy new jerseys. You know, like it wouldn't have been smart for us to change in 2018 because they had just brought out the old school throwbacks and they hadn't even brought out the white ones yet. So like they could sell 4 jerseys a year if they kept it how it is. And my personal take on it, a lot like Ian said, you know, there's times, but like my time period is mostly to that cartoon dolphin that is just awful. So I don't feel that connection. But I am starting to warm up to the new logo a little bit. It really, in 2018, it did change a lot for me. We got rid of that navy blue and took out the dull color scheme. So it is looking a lot better. But I would definitely, you know, my way, if I got my choice, we go back to the 66 logo and the original, and then maybe we throw in like the late 80s uniform as our throwback, the merino jersey from like how everyone pictures him in his prime. I think that would be a great thing to do in 2022, but unfortunately we can't do it till 2020. Well, it'd start in 2023.
So from fence sitting Jimmy to conspiracy Jimmy, who everyone hates, the current logo it's kind of, that's pre-jump, right? That's the beginning of the jump. We're on the rise, baby. That's it. We're symbolism. We're blasting off.
And that's the point right there. We're ready though. We're ready to break out now and become that version of ourselves again.
I'm sorry, Ian, go ahead. What do you got?
No, I was just going to say, to Brian's point, actually, the team may decide in 2023 to change the uniforms up a lot, specifically for the revenue generation.
Yeah.
I mean, look at how much money Tua is bringing in. What was he, the top 3 or 4?
Number 2, I believe.
Yeah.
One and like 2. The top 2, right? The white.
Oh, 1 and 2.
Right. 1 and 2. Imagine if he's doing well and they change the logos. He'll be number 1 and number 2 again. You know, so I mean, really, if you're a marketing person, you're thinking we're looking forward to doing that in 2 or 3 years, whenever that is.
Yes, sir.
The only thing that stopping that is Tua wins the Super Bowl in 2022, as he's definitely on route to do. They would not be able to do a full changeover just having won the Super Bowl. You can't change something that great. So, you know, I could have it either way.
Okay.
Well, let's win that Super Bowl first, and then we'll get there. I'm all
I'll be okay. I'll be quite fine.
Let's not put the wagon before the horse now.
Yeah, you know, no one circles the wagons like the Dolphins, though, is what the old saying goes. All right, you gentlemen, we ready to hop into a couple topics here, or what?
Absolutely.
I'm having fun. We haven't even hit a topic yet, a bullet point.
Oh, see, by the way, just to touch on that, my era too, when I came, I was with the cartoon.
Yeah.
So that was what I was used to, but I'm going to buy gear no matter what's on it.
Yeah.
That's right.
That was all my.
I'm one question for you, Savak. Will you, a lot of people that really don't like the new logo and spearheading the change that like you are with your video, they won't buy anything with the new logo. And up until 2018, I was one of those people. I would not buy any of those. Will you buy any of the memorabilia with the new stuff on it, or just go the throwback?
To be honest with you, I have some of it already, but only some of it was purchased by me. I think my current jersey and then everything else was gifts. You know, people just gave them to me. So it'll be a little bit of both.
But you're not that staunch protester. We have a friend on Twitter who is a staunch new logo protester. I do want to add one thing to that video. There was a bit in there that there was a guy, the crowd was full, and he was wearing a Tannehill jersey, and he was making a face, and literally his face summed up my entire time with Ryan Tannehill absolutely perfectly. Just like, is it good? Is it bad? I hope you can clip that for me, and I'm going to label that 2012 through 2009.
I'll make sure to get that for you.
That's the Tannehill face. that look on your face like you smelled some pee. All right, so let's get it going here. Let's get back on track. Let's hop into our first topic here, boys. So word's coming out that the NFL is going to try to cut the preseason down to 2 games. They are going to drop the first week of preseason and the 4th week of preseason. I read a tweet from Mike Garofalo before the show. The NFLPA has yet to sign off on this, though. Union leadership seems to be questioning whether it's smart to play any preseason games at all. So they might do a Republican Democrat bill thing and try to slide something in, under the guise of something else and possibly get, this no preseason games or at least cut down. That's been a talk for a long time. And now they have this great, order out of chaos kind of move to get something going.
Chaos is a ladder.
Yeah, absolutely. So it'd be a good time to fit it in. What are your guys' thoughts, Savak? Lead us off as the new man to the squad. What's your thoughts on the 2 preseason games?
Now, I know a lot of people don't particularly care for the preseason, but I actually kind of like it. I love watching them because it gives you a good idea of which teams actually have depth, which ones are going to be able to go the distance. So from the fan standpoint, it doesn't matter too much. I feel bad for the coaches because those 2 games that are getting cut, those are their opportunities to get a good look at the bottom of the roster, the bottom half, those guys that you don't normally see.
Yeah, and those guys on the bottom of the roster that are on the cut line, like those preseason games are very important. Ian, what do you think, man? What's your opinion on this?
Well, there's a couple of things I think of automatically. Number one, I think that it's going to push back Tua's timeline a little bit. I felt that if there were 4 games in preseason and the offensive line had an opportunity to gel, then we may have seen Tua a little bit earlier. But now if they're only going to have 2 games and if they have no games, I highly doubt that they would put Tua in with a bunch of offensive linemen who haven't had a real game experience. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But the other thing to this is, and I mentioned it on a tweet earlier today, I feel bad for the undrafted free agents because that's really their time to show their skills, show their talents, not just to the Miami Dolphins, but to all the other teams in the NFL. Mm-hmm. So without these 4 games, and if they don't have 2 games, these guys are really going to be out of luck unless they can really showcase themselves in another different way. So I think you look at those. I don't miss preseason games. I go to every preseason game and I'll be there from the start of the game to the end of the game for exactly what Savak said. It's still football and it's still an opportunity to see what you got as a team. So that's really my opinion. I think it's probably going to hurt a lot of people versus help them.
So I can't think of the specific NFL example from last year. Somebody mentioned something, but there was a recent NBA one. And again, I can't remember the specific players' names, but just an overall, there was a veteran player talking about hey, we should just cancel the season. And then there was a mid-range bench player talking about hey, we don't get paid what you get paid. We need to be out here and playing. And that's kind of what it reminds me of here. A lot of these young guys are hey, we want all the time we can get, all the reps, not just about their shot to make the team, but these dudes want to learn. This is their career, their job. I understand Aaron Rodgers been in the league forever. Hey, I don't need preseason. Well, that's great, man. Then maybe you need to be hey, I'm going to sit out and that's on you. Whatever blowback, whatever happens, that's on you. But these young guys, this is the NFL, man. These guys are flying around. They're huge. They're trying to kill people on the field. You need reps and to get into shape. Brian, what do you got for us, man?
So I'm like Ian. I watch every preseason game. Last year I had to miss the 4th preseason game because I was a keynote speaker at some event, and it was literally
unacceptable.
It was the first preseason game I had missed in 7 years. So I do watch them all. I love them. I mean, I just want to see the shapes and colors. I want to hear I just want to see football. So that's huge. But I see where you guys are going with the players losing, but I think there's going to be some middle ground there because I think the practice squad is going to get more players this year. I think we're going to be able to carry more than, even the 55 that they're going to expand it with. I think because of the threat of COVID wiping out, 10 to 15 players at a time, I think there's going to be more room on that. And I'm also kind of psyched about it because we have some guys, especially at wide receiver, that I don't want other teams to poach off our practice squad. Kirk Merrick is one of those guys that, I would like that he gets the extra time of people not seeing him because I want to stash him on our practice squad until he's ready to take over at wide receiver. So selfishly, I kind of like that. But what I really see from this is that the NFL's planning for preseason football games. They're saying that that's going to happen, that's probably going to be possible, and only being, we're only a month and a half away from the start of that. That's a really good sign. Like Major League Baseball is about to get started, and NBA basketball is getting started, and there's people coming out and saying like NFL can't happen in a bubble. I actually put on Twitter yesterday, I'm starting to get afraid there's not going to be football, but saying that there will be 2 preseason games is a really good sign that there will be, there will be training camp, there will be season. And I do like the fact that they cut out the 1st and the 4th. So after that last preseason game, the last contact, there's 2 weeks until the season starts. So that's about what they say you need to be quarantined from everybody if it starts up. So you get 2 weeks quarantine. You could maybe only miss week 1 if you did get, something during that last time. So I like the schedule. Like Jimmy said, it has to be approved by the Players Association. This was just the NFL saying this is what we see should happen. But I see them probably going along with that. And, you don't want them to week 1 to go out there and that will be their first exposure to people
absolutely.
from other cities. So I think it's a good sign that maybe in middle of August, we'll get back to some normal stuff,
football,
which would be really cool.
And only hope.
So I want to preface this by saying that Brian is a great speaker at the events that he speaks at, but I really liked the humble brag there of where you're like, oh, I missed week 4 preseason to be a keynote speaker. I'm going to start using humble, be like, oh, I missed week 1 of preseason for a penis reduction appointment that I had. That's going to be my humble brag from now on. Anybody else? And Brian is a great speaker also, though, just for the record. Anybody else got anything on preseason? You guys want to keep it moving? I think we're going towards a world of possibly no preseason games. They've talked about this so much. And something Brian said, isn't that weird? Isn't that a weird world where the first, helmet to helmet crack these dudes could take is a regular season game? That just doesn't seem right. I wouldn't feel super comfortable if I was in the NFL. They cut down on hitting in practice and how often they can wear pads. This year, there's probably no inter-team practices, squad matches, So, that would be weird. I don't know. A lot of these dudes like to get hit, and then they're in the game as soon as they get smacked.
And that's the thing. You can only get so much from practice, even when it's full contact. The best way to get better at playing the game of football is to play the game of football.
Exactly. Obligatory. We're talking about practice, man.
And, here's the thing though, too, because you hear a lot of the reason why some of the veterans don't want to play is that they're afraid that they're going to get injured during a preseason game. Right. And we've seen a lot of really top-notch players getting injured during preseason. But to Brian's point, if the first time you're hitting hard is game number 1, what's the likelihood that you're not ready for 100% football and you're going to get injured in one of those early games because your body's not prepared for that?
So,
we would suffer a lot too, because if you've noticed over the past few years that they've cut down against practices where there's actually hitting, the first 4 weeks of the NFL don't look like
sloppy.
Weeks 8 through 16.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
Cutting that back,
7.
it would be a little bit worse, but even bad football this year is going to be better than the best football we've ever had, because we haven't seen anything competitive in so long.
So this is going to be kind of rhetorical, but in the same world where Christian McCaffrey sits out the Rose Bowl or whatever because he's going to the draft, then why isn't there a world where there's 2, 3, 4 preseason games and you let these vets, these 10-year guys plus whatever, sit out when you want to sit out. You know what I mean? You're giving another guy reps, a young guy, cool. If Rodgers or Breeze came out and they're like, hey, I'm sitting out all preseason. Not only do I trust those guys to do that, I'd be fine with it. I have no problem with that.
I think Rodgers did that last year.
True.
It's all about the money.
Absolutely.
I think it's all about the money, because you're not going to get anyone going to preseason games. There are very few number of people if they don't think some of the stars are even going to play just one series. I think that's that's the NFL, and
that's a very good point.
In the contract, and I think that's part of the reason why.
That's a very good point. All about the Benjis. Anybody else on the preseason topic here before we move on? Anybody else got anything else?
Enough with practice.
All right, let's stop talking about practice, man. So Cam Newton has signed with the NFL's version of the Evil Empire. SI.com reports it is a 1-year, about 1 million contract. I'm not great with math and numbers. It's like 1.05, whatever that is, 1,050,000, something like that. A year with incentives up to just under 7 million. I also saw the signing bonus was like $550,000. But Cam Newton is going to the New England Patriots. I know we are going to have some very interesting discussions on this one. I'll hold my opinion right now and just throw it in whenever it's unnecessary. Ian.
Oh wait, hold on. Let me fix that. I know for those of you that are listening, I just wrote Jared Stidham is the best, and I'm going to change that to Cam Newton is now the best, because that was kind of what we were hearing from all the Patriots fans, if I remember correctly.
Thank you for bringing that up. This is insane. This is one thing I will throw in right now. I saw so many Patriots fans go from dogging Cam Newton. They didn't want him 3 months ago. 2 years ago, they're dogging him. And now, oh, man, no, I don't know. He's fixed. He's back, baby. Superman. I can't wait till he's opening up the jersey. Oh, forget about it. Or what? I don't know. That might be Italian. But I can't do the Boston thing. But I won't even try. Now they are all about it. And I get it. I understand they come to your team. Now you love them. But that's fine. You want to have blind optimism and blind like fandom. That's cool. But can we be realistic about where he's at in his career? Like maybe it's not going to work out just because everything for the past 20 years has worked out for you guys. Does it? But I'm ranting now. I said I wouldn't do this. I will let Ian. You want to kick us off, man, as our guest? What do you think about Cam Newton to New England?
I have a lot of question marks. I really do. And, I think, and I keep saying this, the fans in New England have been spoiled the last 20 years. If you're 25 years old, think of this for a second. If you're 25 years old, you don't know anything different except for a Super Bowl winning football team. So I think a lot of people have that mindset that it doesn't matter what they get on the field, they're going to be a winning football team. Yep. And you know what? I think we did that for a long time after Dan Marino left. And I think we had very high expectations as a fan base. But Cam Newton, as you mentioned, he is not the same Cam Newton as he was before. His last great season was in 2015. He is injured. He does not finish seasons as he has in the past. Out of 9 seasons in the NFL, he's only been able to play 16 games in 5 of those seasons. In the other 4 seasons, he was in 14 games in 3 of them and 2 games in the last season in 2019. So I think I'm glad that they're high on him. As a fan, if he was on my team, I'd probably be high on him as well, just because that's what fans do. But I don't think it's going to be what they expect. And I am so happy, and you'll never hear me say this again, I'm so happy that the Dolphins play the Patriots week 1. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the consensus I've seen is that the rest of the AFC East is kind of happy about them taking Newton. I mean, Stidham would have been great for us too. I know Brian and Sabat got some stats, so I'm not going to hop into what I wrote down. But I do want to mention, because I've said it now for 2 years, it's super noticeable. His arm is not the same since the rotator cuff surgery. It's just not the same. He was never deadly accurate in the first place, but the dude, I'll give him credit, he had a cannon. That dude could fit it into windows that 99% of quarterbacks couldn't do. But since his 2017 rotator cuff surgery, the arm has looked dead. It just doesn't look the same. He also looks like he's playing a little timid, like he's afraid to get hurt now. And he doesn't mesh with that culture there. I don't know. I put a joke out, or not even a joke. I put a tweet out talking about, I don't think he'll even finish the season with New England. I mean, it's more likely, he finished the season on the bench. I don't think he plays 16 games for whatever reason you want to pick, injuries, not playing well. But I could see a world where they just cut bait with him, because he just doesn't mesh here. Can you imagine him going to a press conference? You went from Brady, who will take the brunt of everything, and then when they win, he'll pass it on to the rest of the team. Brady never won those games in Brady's mind. It was the team. Can you imagine them losing by 40 and Newton coming in? He just starts dogging everybody in the press conference. Like, that's going to go over
in a
horrible.
Blouse.
Yeah, yes, in a headscarf, a blouse. It's just
dressed as a colonial patriot. That's
yes.
Yes.
The memes have been fantastic
Amazing.
so far. This is one of the best meme-worthy times. If you're into meme stocks, buy on Cam Newton right now. The stocks are high. Brian, what do you got for us here on Cam Newton? I know you love this topic here.
Before I get into my opinion, I got to be a bit of a contrarian. He's better than Jared Stidham, right? I was really excited week 1 to go against Jared Stidham in his first ever start with Xavier Howard not being suspended, Byron Jones on the other side. Last week when we talked about that, I went and I put $60 on the Dolphins with plus 240 against that, because it was a crazy line to have Jared Stidham do that. And I would have seen him getting 3 to 4 interceptions that game. That would have been a hard, tough game. So this
Brian,
team is better.
Can I ask you something real quick? I'm sorry to put you on the spot. I know you look often. Has the spread changed at all? Have they, for week 1, have they added a point? Because that would be great if you can get Miami at plus 7 or 7.5
so far,
now.
Week 1, it hasn't. It was already really high, and that's a dichotomy I wanted to talk about with all of this. It's not just Boston fans that have this weird, like, it was literally last week on every talk radio show across the nation, and I'm talking national media because nobody knew where he was going, that they were saying Cam Newton's washed up. Cam Newton isn't signed because of any other reason besides he's injured. He's not the same player he was. But then he signs on Monday or Sunday night, and all of a sudden he's in the MVP race. And literally it went – he – had no team to now he's top 10 in the MVP race, according to Vegas. He's also tied with Ben Roethlisberger for the highest odds in Vegas to win comeback player of the year. But then the dichotomy of that is the reality is Vegas only moved their over under by 0.5 games. So they're not expecting that much different. I think a lot of that has to do with it was too high for Jared Stidham. And there was that like belief that like Belichick's not doing this. Like, we know him better than that he's not putting Stidham out there. There will be a move made. But
they couldn't put it at 6.5 games, because everybody would have been out. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's a good point, bro.
But the other thing about Cam Newton is he's just not the same player. And there's a real false stat. So like first stat about Cam Newton, he's 0-8 in his last 8 starts. The second stat about Cam Newton that's big to me, since 2015, he's a 500 quarterback since his MVP year. The other thing, so everybody looks at 2018 as like this big change because he's not an accurate quarterback. And that's really important talking about him going to New England because that offense is built on accurate short passing game, reading the defense pre-snap, hitting Edelman 3 yards and letting him go. Edelman doesn't have the speed to make up for non-perfect passes, and that's their only receiver right now. But everybody looks at 2018 at, maybe Cam can be that accurate guy. He's a career 59.6 completion percentage, but in 2018, as last season started, he had a 67% completion percentage. And everyone says because Norv Turner put him in a short passing game and it was because he finally got his shoulder fixed and he healed from the car accident. It had nothing to do with it. If you look at the stats, it's because of Christian McCaffrey that he had a 67% completion percentage. McCaffrey that season had 124 targets. He caught 107 of them. That is insane for anybody.
And those are like 2 yards or less, and he runs for 50 or 60, right?
Yeah.
That's how that worked.
So that season, his receiving yards were 865. There's like 68 receiving yards. 855 of them were after the catch. But the others, to put that in perspective of how good Christian McCaffrey made Cam look that year, White, who is his running back this year in New England, he had the exact same amount of targets from Tom Brady, one of the most accurate passers of all time. He only caught 87 of them. So that's the difference of what Christian McCaffrey added to that, 20 percentage points. It's absolutely insane. But besides that, besides that 1 year, we're looking at quarterback ratings the past 5 years of I have it here. I can't find it real quick, but it's like 70, 82, 78. The one good year was that Christian McCaffrey's first season as a full-time starter. He got back up to 96. But, here it is. It's 75, 80, 94, and then 71. He's just not the same guy. So I still think they're better. He's a veteran. It's a well-coached team. Josh McDaniels is going to utilize him, how he should be utilized. I'm not scared, though. I don't think this is the second coming of the evil empire. This isn't the last set of the trilogy of Star Wars where the emperor came back to life through cloning. They're still on the downfall. They're going to be a little bit better. I'm not as confident as my $60 bet that I made on week 1 as I was last week.
Oh, I would be. I still would be. Especially, bro, he's got to knock some rust off too. Like it could be okay mid-season, but I'd still hang on that one.
The one thing I did hear about, so he had Liz Frank surgery last year on his foot, and the recovery time for that for 100% is 12 months. So he had that surgery after week 3 of last season. So that's, especially with a short.
So he might not even be ready for week 1.
No, I would be surprised unless he's clear and, so far head and shoulders over Stidham. I wouldn't be surprised if they bring Stidham out for 1 or 2 games, let him struggle.
He's Superman, bro.
He's
Superman. He'll be in. So I did some averages on just a couple stats I wanted to throw out. His completion percentage in his career, 59.3. Even his MVP season's 59.8. He averages 18 touchdown passes a year and 232 yards. In his MVP season, he threw 10 picks. Every other year, it's 13, 14, 15 range, 10 fumbles in 2012, 12 in 2014. And the guy takes some sacks. He's not the runner he once was, especially after the injuries now. So I real quick before we get to Savak, I love Bill Simmons. He's probably my favorite guy in the sports world. I listen to him constantly. But I consider him a mouthpiece, like he speaks for Boston sports. 5 months ago, he was screaming about New England not giving Brady weapons. And now, just on Monday, him and Ryan Russillo, he's talking about how dangerous this receiving core and these weapons can be. Oh, Harry, bro, he hated the Sanu trade. He could not stand the Sanu trade. Now, I swear to God, he just said the other day, oh, we got Sanu for a second rounder. Great deal. Like, oh, yeah, Sanu, he's a difference maker. Now, all of a sudden, Harry, Sanu, and aging Edelman, like now these weapons are great. Man, it's upside down world out there in New England. And you know what it is? It's something Ian mentioned. They're just so spoiled. Their head is just so messed up now. They're just so used to winning. They can't experience, they can't even fathom a world outside of being the best in the AFC. Savak, what's up, dude? Where are you at?
I know I saw some of the reaction on Twitter. You had some Dolphins fans seemingly shaking in their shoes. And I'm like, dude, relax. Okay, because look, and let me preface this by I'm a Super Cam fan. He was on my fantasy roster during his MVP campaign, so big fan. But he's not that guy anymore. The only reason he was able to get away with not being all that accurate was because he had the cannon, and he doesn't really have that anymore. And this is the first time in his football career he's going into an offense that's not going to be tailor-made for him. He's joining a system that's already in progress. They're going to tweak it for him, but it's already in progress. And now he has to adjust to that. So when you factor in, he's now perpetually injured. He's coming off of injuries. He's going into a brand new system. You factor in the pandemic and all that shit going on. We don't have to worry about him. He's not going to be that big a deal. He's going to be better than Jarrett Stidham, but that's mostly based on the fact that he's a veteran.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So
there's a couple things that I think are really important about the system that he's walking into. That offensive line, people say, oh, he's walking into a much better offensive line than he had in Carolina. He's not. That offensive line, it was propped up for years by Tom Brady's very quick reads and very quick passing game. And, the threat of running too finally gave him enough time to let it go deep here and there, but that's never been his game.
No.
So that line is going to be exposed with Cam not having the ability for those quick reads and those accurate throws. The other thing that I think is really important is, so he's a career 59 completion percentage guy. Tom Brady last year with this offense threw for his third worst completion percentage in his NFL career with 60%.
Wow.
So if Tom Brady can throw to this, and the only difference is 2 rookie tight ends. There's no other different wide receiver.
And we should point out, Cam Newton has only had a completion percentage of 60% or above 3 times in his career. 3 times. His best year was 59%.
Ian, what you got something to say, Ian?
I was just going to say, I think and we talked about some of the negatives, and I just want to talk a moment about the positive with Cam.
Absolutely, yeah.
His level of enthusiasm that he's bringing to that team, to that huddle, to that football, to that offense is going to be amazing. You saw him with Carolina. You saw, and I think he was also the one that started giving out the footballs to the fans and taking those fines because he didn't mind paying the fines to it. But he brings that certain element similar to how Ryan Fitzpatrick has brought that veteran leadership to the Dolphins. I don't know about the leadership, but I know the enthusiasm and the excitement about it. Yeah. And I know that helps a locker room, especially where they're transitioning right now. So I would say that's probably one of the benefits. And you've got, he's still a good, he's a decent quarterback, but I guess time will only tell. I mean, we could be sitting here talking about this now, and then he could kill the Dolphins, which I hope doesn't happen. But that could happen, right? Maybe he comes out and has an amazing season that we just didn't see coming. And Bill Belichick would definitely win Coach of the Year if that's the case, if he's able to do something with Cam. But I don't see that happening, and I don't think any of us. I think we all agree that we don't see that happening.
Yeah, I agree with Ian though that I think that like if this was a video game, everyone in his locker room just got like a +5 on stamina because I mean he's a former MVP. They were looking at Jarrett Stidham. They all practiced with Jarrett Stidham last year, and they were not excited. There was not rave reviews coming out of New England. So at least the vets in the locker room, I'm sure. Like you've seen Edelman on Twitter, he is going nuts. Like we have a real quarterback. So just the confidence of the other players that's going to help out the Patriots.
Yeah. So Ian, you made a good distinction in terms of like you stopped short of leadership, but the enthusiasm and the energy he brings, because I'm pretty outspoken about not liking him as a quarterback, but he's a good dude, the charitable dude, the giving the footballs out. Charlotte loved him. I get that. And yeah, the enthusiasm he brings, the dude is going to go out there and try to prove something in a new place. And something has to be said to that because we've seen it done a billion times in this league. A guy with something to prove, a chip on his shoulder, going someplace new. So he could sneak up and do something for sure. I would bet towards the likelihood of that not happening. But at week 8, and we're sitting here talking about it, I won't be surprised if he's having a above average season.
I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't make the team. If this competition is close, I don't see them bringing him into the roster. If Stidham is that close to him, I don't see him. Yeah,
that's surprising. You've spoken so highly of him so far. I'm surprised that you.
I don't see.
We're trying to throw in a little bit. We're not trying just to dump on the dude. He starts sending shots at the Fin Addicts on Twitter, bro. We don't want that kind of problem, man. Come on, dude.
I don't really see that happening, but it wouldn't surprise me if Stidham is a little bit more advanced and he does struggle to be healthy. It could be. I mean, they get that benefit of the doubt every time, but really, if we look at the Patriots reclamation projects over the past few years, they haven't gone very well.
No.
How did Antonio Brown do? How did Josh Gordon do? Yeah. There's a lot of guys that came to New England and the national media was like, oh, this is going to be the savior. He's going to the Hall of Fame. And we never really saw him even suit up. So
I don't know if Josh Gordon,
I would say
it's
a 10% chance.
But I agree with you. I agree with you. Brian, before we move on, say one nice thing about Cam Newton right now. I said
that he gave everybody
you said he's probably not the savior or something. That was real nice.
Gave him a +5 in stamina.
If we lived in a video game. He's got a nice smile too. The guy's got a really nice smile. Just like Savak, who's got a nice smile.
Thank you.
What
I do have one question. Supposing Cam Newton comes in and does well, who gets the credit for that?
Me,
Bill Belichick.
Absolutely.
Belichick, for sure.
Me and Ian, because we're the only ones who said anything pleasant about the man.
That's called covering your.
No, you're right,
butt.
Savak.
You're covering your ass
CYA.
just in case.
CYA.
But it will be because this season's about Belichick versus
think?
Brady, right? This is about who built the empire, Belichick, Brady. If Cam Newton has an MVP year, you're going to hear some bad things about
Belichick. Yeah, Ian.
But there's some great bets in Vegas right now about who's going to do better. The over/under on passing touchdowns between Brady and Newton. The over/under for who's going to win more games, Tampa Bay and New England. That will be a fun storyline to watch for the year.
Ian, who do you think? Who gets the credit real quick if he performs well?
Belichick, and I'm going to make a prediction. If he does bad and they have a bad season, I don't know how much longer Belichick's going to stay around.
Oh, wow. Okay. I think Cam takes all the credit himself if he has a good season, but I agree with the Belichick. Savak, what do you think? You dropped the question. What do you think quickly?
I think that the credit would have to go to Belichick. I think that if he does bad, though, I believe a lot of it's going to fall on Cam, even if it's not particularly his fault.
Yeah.
Tom Brady didn't do that too much with them last year, so I mean, the credit would go to Belichick, but Cam Newton will get paid. He'll go from $7 million a year to back up to 15 or 20 million next year. So yeah, I'm sure he'll let Belichick get the credit as he's on his way to the Bank of America.
All right, so moving on. I swear we're a Miami Dolphins show, but our next topic here is again New England Patriots. I apologize for that, but hey, it's the AFC East. It's hot in the streets right now. We got to talk about it. The New England Patriots got caught cheating again. Surprise, surprise. Stop me if you've heard this one before. NBC Boston reports that they'll be fined $1.1 million and they will lose their 2021 third-round draft pick for filming the Cincinnati Bengals sideline. And quickly, before I kick it to one of you guys, I jokingly, but I kind of believe this, I jokingly tweeted that the Pats signed Newton to bury this news, but I genuinely believe that the Newton news was released at this same time to kick this one to the back burner a little bit. Brian's vehemently nodding his head. Brian, what do you think about this cheating situation here and the punishment?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Adam Schefter reported the two stories within 8 minutes of each other.
Very convenient.
I don't think they signed Cam Newton only because they got
this
punishment,
that was a joke.
They couldn't control when the NFL was going to let that go. They could control when they told the NFL that they signed Cam Newton.
They sat on it, right? It seems like they sat on it.
I think they did. And dude, I can't wait to see what they do when Kraftgate comes out and some fines get leveled for the happy
bro. But is it the NFL's business who tugs you off and where they do it? I don't understand. I don't see the relevance here, right? Ian's shaking his head.
Florida.
Yeah, well, there is a lot of tug and rubs down there. And I notice I don't say rub and tug. I'm a tug and rub guy because I want to get tugged first, so I'm relaxed and then rubbed. So, but anyways.
This is a family show, Jimmy.
Enough about my Friday nights. Brian, get back on topic. Brian, taking us off topic there as always.
Yeah, I'm a little mad about the punishment. Right, you don't get your second punishment for the same crime. It's not lesser time than the first crime. Right, They've already had a Spygate issue, and they cost them more money this time. But a lesser third-round pick, I think that no matter what, I honestly don't think the Patriots were filming the Bengals sideline to cheat, but it doesn't matter what I think happened. The optics of it, they were cheating. And this is the second time they've done it. It should have been worse than the first time. I think
they get no benefit of the doubt.
NFL might have that same loop there with the Cam Newton news. Like, I'm glad they signed Cam Newton because people aren't going to be hard on us on the lack of punishment. Because a third-round pick, I mean, they're going to get 2 more third-round picks because of Kyle Van Noy and Jamie Collins going to Detroit. So
that's a good angle. I didn't think about that, Brian. That's a very good angle.
So yeah, I think it's too light of a punishment for this. The second offense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They get no, like I just said, they get no buffer room, no benefit of the doubt. The way that it worked, it's happened before. Like you can't, because I don't think they're filming them either. Why do they need to film the Cincinnati Bengals? They didn't have they have Burrow now, but I don't even they didn't need to. There was no reason to.
That was going to be my question too. Is I hope they weren't actually trying to cheat to beat the Bengals. Did you really need that?
No.
Bengals.
But you're doing it every week. If they had that film crew out every week filming, right? There's not an order coming directly from Belichick to the filming crew of like, hey guys, I know we've been cheating for every other team, but this week we're playing the lowly Bengals. Don't do it this week. If that's the culture and that's what that's the culture.
Yeah, if they were doing it
third time in 20 years.
Yeah. And if they were doing it with the Bengals, the Bengals weren't the only team that they filmed last year.
They just got caught.
That's the only team they got
Bengals
caught
had a good
with.
security department.
Oh, hey, good on the Bengals protecting their players, that great franchise, that storied franchise, protecting they got to protect that game film, baby. Ian, I'm
And
sorry.
I was just gonna say, I mean, they knew what they were doing was wrong. If you heard the audio right after they released it, you know, the Patriots video crew, they knew exactly what they were doing, and they knew exactly the fact that they were doing it wrong. And like you said, though, I don't think Cincinnati had won a game at that point, or they had only won one game at that point, so it really didn't make a difference. But you know, it's one of those things when it's only cheating when you get caught, right? It's not cheating if they don't know that you've done it. So the question now becomes, how often have they done this in the past and they've gotten away with it? And unfortunately, my opinion is this is absolutely a slap in the wrist. This is a nothing burger for a penalty. But you know, with the Patriots, it's almost like, oh, we're going to try and take a first rounder from you. We're going to charge you millions of dollars. And it still doesn't matter to the Patriots. They're still going to do well because that's what they've done in the past. Brady was with Deflategate, right? He was suspended for 4 games and they still went on to the Super Bowl that year. But that's just the way the Patriots rule. And I think, you know, who's responsible for that? Well, yeah, Belichick may not have given the orders, but he's still the leader of that organization. So everything goes and points to him, and all the cheating that has happened while he's been the coach. So he is ultimately responsible for all the cheating with that organization.
Is there any possibility that, you know, when you're going to punish your kid and they're like, oh, here, you know what you should do? You should take away this toy I don't use anymore for 2 weeks. And you're like, yeah, you know what? You're right. I'm taking away this toy. Any chance that Kraft was like, oh, Goodell, like here, you know, you should probably find us a Millhouse and take away one of our 3 third-rounders or whatever they got. Any chance Goodell is, you know, Kraft's in his ear like that? I could see that. I could see that
too.
I could see that being the
Goodell
case.
gets punked by these high-end owners, Kraft, Jerry
Not
Jones.
punked, that's his boss. I mean,
for sure. They're all his bosses. Absolutely.
Bosses or owners there is.
For sure. But those vocal, long-time, high-end dudes, they got a ton of pull. They got more pull than whoever owns the Bengals. I know the name. It's leaving me. But also, wasn't it interns? Didn't the dudes claim they were interns that got caught filming? Maybe they do film every team, even if they're crappy, but they sent like their C squad, like their Tuesday buffet at the strip club lineup.
Yeah.
Like they didn't send the top guys. Like
Just because it's past 8:30, Jimmy, doesn't mean we're a rated R show. Don't let the time fool you of the recording.
We're tugging
still
and
PG
rugging
after
and
8
rubbing.
o'clock at night.
I didn't even know we were PG. I apologize. Well, in post, you can cut all of my stuff if you want. I apologize. I didn't know. I thought we got that NC-17 label, and I was running with it.
We're on double secret probation at iTunes still.
You're right.
I knew it.
I was about to drop sausage too, so there's a good thing you said something. So I'll stop short of that.
It's funny, just the thought went in my head, and I just started getting this vision of Kraft calling Goodell, "Hey, Raj, I know what you want to do, but why don't you give us a $1 million and a third rounder? What do you think about that?" Yeah, I'll talk to the other guys. They'll be good with that. Why don't we, Raj, right? Raj or RG, yeah. You know, he's got his nickname for him.
His friends call him that. Yeah, you probably know him as Mr.
RG.
Goodell. Yeah.
I think they were cashing in on the Deflategate stuff. They were like, dude, you took 4 games. You took a first rounder. We just gave that to you. It was pretty harsh. It wasn't that big of a deal. Maybe we even it out here. Maybe what do you say? A little makeup.
We won't do it ever again, I promise.
Yeah.
So Rock, where are you in on this cheating scandal?
Goodness. I wish this was the first time we were hearing about this, you know, but I think I agree with you guys that it feels like it's a part of the culture, you know, because if you guys remember when Josh McDaniels had that brief stint as the head coach in Denver, a small scandal of that same type came out of there, with ownerships expressing their what's a good word for it? Disgust seemed like a bit much, but
discontent.
There we go. Their discontent over those kind of practices, and that was something that Josh brought with him from New England. So it's not really at all surprising to find out that was going on. I do think it's a little ridiculous that they literally got a slap on the wrist, if that, more like a pat on the ass on the way out. Like, hey, you know what? You guys are all right. You'll be fine. No harm, no foul. You got any news to release? Oh, you're signing somebody? Perfect. Let's launch that too. because, information doesn't just leak out of New England unless they want it to come out.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like the Soviet Union. You don't hear news coming out of Russia unless they – Savak, what do you think – I mean, isn't there film on every team anyway? I got film. I can get you film on the Bengals if you want film. I pay $5 a month for an NFL thing that'll get you all the X's and O's you want. What is going on here? What's the extra filming, especially during a game? I understand the practice stuff. I get that. But what's up with the filming during – I mean, well, they were also filming the sideline, right? So maybe they were getting like – okay.
They were looking for signals would be the what I would imagine. But
the all-22 film will give them everything on the field, but you can't get what the coaches are doing, how they're doing their sub packages, what signals are going to the quarterback. It's not even signals right anymore. It's lip syncing, right? Like it's reading lips because they have the headsets and stuff. So
they cover their mouth. I wonder if teams now going up against New England, I wonder if they're extra super, careful, whatever, they can maybe a whole new system for New England. They come out with the big college signs with like IHOP and Brett Michaels.
You ever watch Better Call Saul?
Absolutely.
Love
that show.
They're like the brother that they put the whole house in tinfoil and they wrap themselves in tinfoil before they play the Patriots.
That was season 1, man. I'm on season 5 already.
That was funny.
I don't have a great memory. I remember that. Yeah, I'm glad you didn't go too.
I think that's what the Oakland Raiders did with their new stadium is they built the whole thing out of tinfoil so the Patriots won't have that.
It's and you'd have to imagine Faraday cage.
Exactly, and you'd have to imagine they'd want to do something because I feel like every single time somebody's playing the Patriots, the headsets have technical difficulties. I never get tired of seeing that.
Always something.
Quarterback standing in the middle of the field.
Yeah, and you look over at Belichick and he's giving the Dr. Evil, like he's just standing there. Like, why does Belichick got his pinky on the corner of his mouth?
Gosh, I don't know, man.
We missed so many signs. Anybody else got anything else on this? I mean, it seems like a slap on the wrist. It's crap. And there's no part, I'll never not believe that they held on to the Newton news to bury this because I don't really see any talk about it. Everything is obviously Newton. Obviously, that's the big news. But, man, and they have no more, like, they didn't have any buffer room, any leeway before. But now, like, come on, this is the 5th time you've been caught cheating. Like, come on. Anybody else got anything for us here on the cheating Patriots, as we're gonna have to call them now for sure?
We've been talking about it for 20 years. I think we've talked about it.
Yeah, talked it to death.
We're gonna reuse the memes that we used 7 years ago. It's perfect.
I know. Yeah, seriously. You don't even have to make any new ones. Before we get out of here, Ian, what's your outlook on the season, man? What's the best guess you can give us?
I honestly feel very optimistic. I think if we went last year with having 5 wins with that team that we had, then this season with all these rookies, all these, good free agents, really talented guys, I think 8 games is the minimum for me for wins for this season.
Yeah.
I mean, because you're picking up 3 games with all these new additions that you have. And I'm going to say that either it be with Tua or Fitzpatrick, because he has proven to be able to win games. In that locker room, they love Fitzpatrick. So I say 8-8 at minimum. I would be singing and probably crying if there's any way that we make it to the playoffs this season.
8 wins,
and I don't know what I'll do if we get higher than that.
You better be careful not mentioning Rosen. And going back on Twitter, you mentioned Fitzpatrick and Tua possibility. Careful on Twitter with the Rosen stuff.
I get yelled at. I know.
Very, very, very quickly, Ian, I hate to put you on the spot. Who was your favorite draft pick? Well, Tua probably, but who was your favorite free agent?
No, he was not a Tua guy.
Oh, okay.
So and I wouldn't say it was not a Tua guy. I would prefer someone else because of the injury challenges. Yeah. But now that he's our guy, I'm like I'm not a number 1 fan, but I'm a huge fan of his. I like Igbinoghene.
Oh, and he said the name right.
Right. Yeah. Props for that. Points awarded.
Can you say it one more time so I can study it? I'm still trying to get it.
Igbinoghene.
Months later.
10 times.
Igbinoghene.
Yep. And I like him because, first of all, I love his pedigree. His parents were both Olympic runners.
Kid's a blue blood.
I love the leadership that he brings to the team. I love his speed, his size. He's lanky. He's got the long arms. I just think he's one of those kids that he's going to make a difference. And, our defense needed a lot of help, and it got better as the season went on, but we just picked up a slew of great guys for our defense. So I'm really encouraged about what this year is going to look like. And gosh, I hope we have a season, man. That's the
for
big
real.
thing.
For real, sacrifice something to the football gods, a chicken or I don't know, a chicken
Every
breast.
night I'll do
jersey
it, man.
behind you.
I don't care.
Yeah, something. And Ian, I'm sorry again. Before we close out here, where do we find you? Twitter. Drop some more stuff for us, or drop one more time.
So you'll find me Ian693, also known as Big E on Twitter. Also,
Big
if you want
E.
to find any of my articles and any of my prior articles, you can go to www.dolphinstalk.com. That's where I hang my hat. And really, those are the main places. I have Facebook, but that's more for my family stuff. And then you'll find me scattered around in podcasts until I'm on for normal. And my 2-minute drill every Wednesday night. 2-minute drill is what I'm putting out right now.
The 2-minute drills are great. I've been loving them. So every Wednesday, check a 2-minute drill out on Twitter from Ian. Ian, thank you so much for joining us, man. It was great to have you. While you're floating around on podcasts, man, come on over to the Fin Addicts and join us again during the season. Hopefully, like you said, hopefully our season. Brian, I'm sorry. Are you leaning in to say something before we close, or was that
no? Thank you very much, Ian, for joining us. It was great to have you. We've spoken so much on Twitter. This is the first time we've actually, I think, physically spoken, so this was cool.
I'm so happy to be here for this moment of you two getting to speak face to face for the first time.
I feel like I want to hug you on the Zoom, but I know that's not possible.
This will be one of my top 5 million memories of my life. At least, definitely top 5 mil. At least, maybe 4.
I'm literally always like, my wife is like, really, another Tua jersey? I'm like, look at Ian. He's had Thomas jerseys.
So you mentioned a kinship earlier, but that's like your third scapegoat thing. I think this is more of like
You're trying to find reasons for your wife to do things.
Yeah.
Catching that.
Well, look at Ian. Look at his wife.
I'm not letting her hear this podcast because she can't have my excuse.
Well, Ian's wife let him eat ice cream for breakfast. And that's the PG version. I was gonna go a different route, and I caught myself.
Oh,
thank you.
So
yes,
proud
I'll
of you.
never mention someone's wife. First off, even if we were, I'll never mention someone's wife in a weird way, especially my
So,
buddies.
Bach, I just want to say too, welcome. This was your first full episode as a full member of the Fin Addicts Network. It was awesome to have you.
Hell
You brought a lot of new and exciting stuff to the network. That video was quite fun. So thank you for that.
Hell
He's still pledging. He's got to get the tattoo still, the brand that we have, the Fin Addicts brand thing. So we'll get you that. We'll mail it over to you. You got to do it yourself, obviously. I could fly down. Down maybe.
Absolutely.
Well, awesome. Hey, it was great talking to everyone. We had a great show. Good stuff. As always, thank you very much for joining us over here at the Fin Addicts. And again, if you haven't already, scoot over to YouTube right now. Do it right now. You're listening. You're on your phone. You're on your computer. Go to YouTube. Subscribe. Fin Addicts Network. Go on to Twitter. Follow us at Fin_Addicts. Check out the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, wherever you want it, how you want it. We got it for you. For Brian, Savak, Ian, I am Jimmy. Fins up. You guys have a good night. Thanks for joining us.
Fins up.
Fins up.